Welcome to MTV Somali Channel's nightly news bulletin. If you're new to us, please don't forget to subscribe in order not to miss out on our nightly news round in Somalia. You can follow all the latest breaking headline news on our website mtvsomali.com. In today's headline, imperative that the summit yield an implementable agreement to hold elections in the shortest time, says UN. Wadani party rallies in regions and districts of Somaliland on the third day of the campaign. Shabelle River begins to flood parts of Beledweyne. And military court in central Somalia jails 4 al-Shabaab militants for life. We start with James Swan, UN Special Representative for Somalia and head of the United Nations Assistance Mission in Somalia, UNSOM, said it is imperative that the summit yield an implementable agreement to hold elections in the shortest time possible. Without such an agreement, and the goodwill and sincerity to implement it, the gains which have been made in recent years may be reversed, risking further instability and insecurity, he warned. Recounting the political impasse over recent weeks, Mr. Swan said the talks between Somalia's federal government and the leaders of its federal member states, which began in March, regrettably broke down in early April. The House of the People of the Somali Parliament then adopted a special law, abandoning a landmark electoral agreement reached on the 17th of September 2020, extending the mandates of current office holders for up to 2 more years. Opposition to these moves led to the mobilization of militias and exposed divisions within Somali security forces. Violent clashes ensued on the 25th of April, risking broader conflict. Since then, Somalia has come back from the brink of this worst-case scenario, said Mr. Swan, recalling that the House of the People reversed its special law on the 1st of May under intense pressure, finally easing tensions. Praising Somali leaders who sought consensus and worked to de-escalate the situation in the interest of the Somali people, Mr. Swan said the same spirit of compromise will be crucial going forward. President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed Farmajo has empowered the Prime Minister, Mohamed Hussein Roble, to lead the federal government's involvement in the electoral process and oversee security arrangements. Talks at the Mogadishu summit now center on resolving outstanding issues related to the implementation of the 17th of September agreement and matters related to the upcoming elections. The United Nations is supporting arrangements for the summit in close coordination with the African Union, the European Union, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, and other diplomatic partners. Mr. Swan urged Somali leaders to find solutions in good faith and demonstrate the leadership required at what he described as an historic moment for the country. The international community has largely stood united behind diplomatic efforts to keep the Somali parties unified and make progress against a more insidious security threat, namely, the al-Shabaab terrorist network. The group continues to demonstrate resilience and the ability to plan and execute complex attacks across Somalia, including against civilians. Its leaders claimed responsibility for an attack that left 5 people dead and dozens more wounded at the Hotel Afrique in Mogadishu on the 31st of January. Mr. Swan told the Council that it is now crucial for the parties to commit to a clear way forward. Without this, progress on key national priorities will continue to be hampered, or worse, reversed, in critical areas, including in the security, economic and development sectors, he warned. Leaders, supporters and candidates of the Wadani opposition party rallied in the regions and districts of Somaliland on the third day of the local election campaign. Thousands of supporters, some waving and wearing the Wadani party's orange flag, filled the Wadani party's campaign squares early in the morning. Top Wadani party leaders, local council candidates and representatives, and their supporters, gathered at the Freedom Park in Hargeisa early in the morning, where they held their largest rally. Party chairman and presidential candidate Abdurrahman Mohamed Abdullahi, Siro, said his party had worked hard to ensure the election. The Wadani party and I, the chairman of the Wadani party, have put in a lot of effort and we have put up with a lot of things that were not tolerated, he said. We have shown patience, so that the election can take place. Today we have arrived and are heading for the May 31st by-elections in Somaliland, he added. Reports from the town of Beledweyne say that the river Shabelle has flooded some neighborhoods in the district. Families living in flooded neighborhoods have begun to flee their homes for fear of being isolated by the rising floods. A warning issued by the Hiran Regional Administration a few days ago showed that the Shabelle River has brought a lot of water and therefore needs to be stopped before the canals break. Efforts have been made to ensure that there is no flooding in Beledweyne this year, although there are fears that the rising waters will break the banks and flood the district. The Shabelle River has been flooding Beledweyne for the past few years and in many occasions with most of the town's residents displaced. A military court in central Somalia region of Mudug has sentenced 2 men accused of killings and belonging to the militant group Al-Shabaab to life. The 2 were arrested during fighting with Somali National Army in Bardweyne in Mudug region according to the prosecution. Muhammad Hassan Abakar and Abdullahi Abdurrahman Ahmed were found guilty of coordinating and leading attacks in the region. The court also established that the 2 were senior members of the outlawed Al-Shabaab militant group. They have 30 days to appeal their case. That's it for our nightly news bulletin roundup. Don't forget to subscribe to MTV Somali channel in order to not miss out on our nightly news roundup in Somalia.